What starts here changes the world. I have a few suggestions that may help you on your way to a better world. And while these lessons were learned during my time in the military, I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles in this world are similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and changing the world around us, will apply equally to all. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. During SEAL training, the students are all broken down into boat crews. Each crew is 7 students, 3 on each side of a small rubber boat, and 1 coxswain to help guide the dinghy. Every day your boat crew forms up on the beach and is instructed to get through the surf zone and paddle several miles down the coast. In the winter, the surf off San Diego can get to be 8 to 10 feet high, and it is exceedingly difficult to paddle through the plunging surf unless everyone digs in. Every paddle must be synchronized to the stroke count of the coxswain. Everyone must exert equal effort, or the boat will turn against the wave and be unceremoniously dumped back on the beach. For the boat to make it to its destination, everyone must paddle. You can't change the world alone. You will need some help. And to truly get from your starting point to your destination takes friends, colleagues, the goodwill of strangers, and a strong coxswain to guide you. If you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers.
There we go. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing? I was just didn't get my mic going. welcome to the podcast and so forth. So I'm just gonna get you to kind of introduce yourself a little bit more because I know you're a mother that had some issues with your daughter being trafficked and so forth, and had some issues with the courts and I mean the police involvement in keeping you from your daughter who's being transitioned. So I'll get you to come in and introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thank you, Dale, for having me. I'm going to call my name Victoria. For security reasons, as you can see, I'm kind of like in disguise. So the whole thing started, if I can go back in time and recollect, my daughter was about maybe 14, 15 when she was heavily involved with Minecraft, Discord, Roblox, all those games, but she also had an account with Etsy. And I'm not really sure because I have not gotten a proper investigation, but based on my own investigations myself and finding little details here and there, and I've concluded that she was early on targeted by what we call a groomer. Maybe adults, maybe a kid, I don't know. But that is when I've noticed that she started to, I guess, have contact with what we call today a cartel or mafia.
Just
If I
want to.
move time,
How old was your daughter when this started to happen?
15,
Okay, so she was 15 years old, and she was
15 years old.
made contact with these people on some of these games.
Yep, Discord, Minecraft. And she was approached, but what I believe is one of the main cartel members in this town. They had a 13-year-old to buy a mask or a what they call costume, handmade costume that my daughter had a business on Etsy and through PayPal. So they came up, they purchased a costume from her, and this was a 13-year-old, and my child said, "Oh, they want to pick up the item in person." And then I said, where they're at? We're there in Northern California. And so I said no at first, but then she said, "Mom, it is a 13-year-old. There's no harm, blah, blah, blah." Well, I accept it. And that's when I know that that's when my girl was approached. And ever since, she was introduced to other 13, 14-year-olds, what I was able to see, but mostly online. And then when she turned 18, 2 days later, she was taken.
So they
And mhm,
so they waited. They talked to her for a few years until she turned 18, and then came and
yeah,
got her right after she turned 18.
yeah. My daughter was homeschooled, no father present in the house. I attended a church that today I know that was also involved on trafficking, I believe. Two major churches here in town. People do not know that that's happening. The reason why I say this is because my own child came up one day after dropping her off on Wednesday night and for Bible, and she said there were no supervision, that she was introduced to pornography by other kids in there. Other times she will come back and said, "Oh, we went to Walmart." And I said, "Well, the leader went with you guys." "No, but some of the girls were stealing alcohol and
Where,
cigarette."
This was at through a church group
Church.
that they were
Yeah.
introducing your daughter to pornography. How old was she at the time?
15, 16, same age. And I decided not to basically let her go to church any longer because I knew that there was something going on. And so that's just to give you a little bit of a background. Unfortunately, my child got targeted from not only church, but also the games. She was heavily bullied online as well. And so because of the homeschooling situation, it was hard for her to make friends. So moving time forward, when she said I sold this costume and the little girl, so-called little girl, wanted to meet me in person, she was excited because it was hard for her to make friends. One thing I do notice that I must highlight is that those accounts, TikTok or all of those social media accounts, these kids, when they're young, they're naive, which was the case of my girl. They think they're famous. They have no clue that the likes, the followers are nothing but AI and bots, right? But back then, she thought she was famous, that she was well known, and therefore there was someone that wanted to meet her. We're talking about a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, so they don't have much experience in life. So she believed that. So yeah, that went on, and when she turned 18, they picked her up. I'm gonna move time backwards again. About a month prior, before she was picked up, she said she wanted to see a counselor. So I took her to one of those main churches, and they have counselors. I did look around. It is a thing in California that if you don't affirm or if you don't agree with what your kid is doing or that kind of stuff, they pick up your kids, right? CPS gets involved and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want to deal with any of that. And so they were already giving me a hard time because I took my child out of the system. I was homeschooling. I had my own school myself. So I was able to get her out of the system. So we didn't belong to any of the cool school systems. So I was already getting letters from the government or the local government, the state, that, I needed to enroll my kid in school, and they were giving me a hard time. They were asking, questions until they finally left me alone. But anyways, so I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want anybody to, send anybody to pick up my kid. And I found my girl kind of under distress, like she was not doing well. And then I said, okay, let me find a counselor. It may take me a few days. So I call a few doctors, and they obviously were going to affirm if that was the case or confuse her if she had some kind of, doubts or just in general. I don't believe in the school system. I mean, on the medical system. And we were not injected. So I wanted to keep her as, as I don't know if I can use the word normal, but as secluded and so I didn't find a doctor or a counselor. So then I go, okay, I can try the churches. So then I call around, and then they gave me like a month or 2 months later, like an appointment. But then I found this one church that I attended a while back, and then I questioned the youth pastor. I asked him if, like if kids come over and want to talk to him, if he was kind of like supporting God's agenda, not what everybody was, affirming these kids and confusing these kids and that kind of stuff. And then he said, oh yeah, we're totally a Bible-based church. And I said, okay, cool. So then I brought my girl. They had a meeting for about 2.5 hours. I made a mistake of leaving them alone because I should have stayed there. She was a minor after all, right? But I just wanted to give her room so she can talk, and then we can, find out why is that she wanted to speak to a counselor. So anyways, when the meeting was over, I asked my daughter, do you think you want to come back? And she said yes. Well, that was that. She came back two more times.
What did he do when he was talking to her?
Nothing was told to me except that he said, oh, she just need deliverance. That was it. And I said, what do you mean deliverance? Well, she just has some demons. That's what he said. And then I said, okay. So what was communicated to you? And then he said, well, because of I guess there is a law that you cannot talk to others regarding that patient. Can't remember what's it called. I can't tell you exactly what I talked to her, but I can tell you that, are you planning to bring her next time? And I said, yeah, it seems like she wants to come back. Well, then, I can have prayer for her. I mean, I didn't think that it was a death life situation. I guess, naive of myself, I trusted the youth pastor. And anyways, I thought, okay, I'll bring her back and that will be it. So it is important to highlight that, because I will bring you back then at a later point. So she had 2 other meetings, and a month prior to her being taken, she was crying around 1 a.m. on the kitchen floor. And I found her when I came out to get water, and I asked her if there was something wrong with her, what was going on. And all I remember, she said, is that she did not want to turn 18, that she was terrified, that she will not survive without me, that she owed $7,000 of back orders for the orders that she had taken.
So this is where you can sit down and see that they were grooming. And under the law, it doesn't matter if they came and got her after 18. It's still child exploitation, because they started doing this and laying this foundation when she was a child. And when it comes down to it, when a single parents, single mothers especially, are ones that are targeted very quickly, because the reason being is, and pedophiles have talked about this publicly, because with a father, he'll kill you with his bare hands, right? Where the mother doesn't have that same thing, and they go after people like this. And then when they target the children and they start doing things for them, and like you sit down and say they're on TikTok, and these social medias are wired for kids to be, or anybody to become addicted to them, but children don't have their frontal lobes fully developed, and so this is going to hit them harder. And then on top of it, she's being exposed to pornography and these types of activities that are going to rewire her brain. And then she's being bullied on top of it, and she's, especially being a girl, girls are more wired for emotional feeling good. Men, we're not. We're as long as we can make sure the people around us are looked after, we don't care how we feel. But women are not the same way. They go after men and women very differently. The people who do this, they very well know that men and women are different, and they target them based on those differences. And then they lie to us and tell us a different story. So this is absolutely disgusting what is going on. And they worked on this girl for 3 years to come and snatch her when she's 18. And she knew something was wrong, which is they probably like, well, we did all this for you, and now you owe us money. Go ahead.
So when she said she owes $7,000, I said, what? She said, I taking way too many orders, Mom. And because she was graduating high school and it was her birthday, of course, she had been, bit lazy, not doing much except just her school. And then she said that I will go to jail. And then I said, why would I go to jail? And then she said, remember, I'm working under your name. The PayPal is in your name. The Etsy account is in your name. The bank account is in your name because I'm a minor. And then I said, instead of being compassionate and question more, I just thought immediately, oh my gosh, now what about taxes? And then she said, well, remember, I'm a minor, Mom. And then so anyways, I just turned around and I said, what if I give you $2,000, give me a couple of weeks, would you be able to reimburse these people and they leave you alone? Because I seen your distress. And she said, yeah, that would be great. And then I said, you can't be doing this. You have to sell all of this, because she had tons of material like fabric, sewing machines, and then she felt proud of what she was doing. I believe, I don't believe, I know. So she was sewing some of those costumes for what we called, or what we know today, those furries. Furries, the fandom, right? Where they're nothing but pedos under that, and then they hide underneath it. And then she'll go to conventions, local conventions, and then she'll sell her costumes. And so,
It's
and then
worse
she
than
cries.
it's worse than just pedophilia. They're like teaching people about things with animals. It's nasty. It's disgusting. It's filth. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know until after she's taking. Again, naive of me, or I don't know. I've had to find room for me to forgive myself, and I'm still working on that, because I needed to protect my child, and I didn't, I guess. Anyway, so she um I protect her, but not the way that I thought I was protecting my child. I didn't know that these people will break in, violate the internet, violate my household. I just didn't know. Anyways, so she said that that will help her. And then I said, give me a couple of weeks. And she said, Mom, I won't be able to survive without you. And I want to stay little the rest of my life. And then at that moment, that comment, I said, are you thinking of leaving? Because you're just turning 18. Nothing is going to change. You still have to go to college. You still have 4 or 5 more years at home, or whenever you get married, because it's not like I'm going to kick you out. Our culture is not like that. And then so she said, no, but in case, in a year from today, in case I decide to go to college, and I don't want to grow up. Look what I'm saying, right? I don't want to grow up. I want to stay little. I can't survive without you. Why was she saying this? You will go to jail. Okay, well, they didn't know that 4-5 weeks later she was going to be taken. On her birthday, didn't seem nothing out of the extraordinary. We celebrated her birthday. Her grandparents, my parents were here. And 2 days after that, I went to work like no big deal, like 8 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, 1:05, I get the phone call that my parents came back getting lunch. She did not want to go. She was under a little bit of a cold, and she said she had a sore throat. They came back, she was gone. And the way that they took her, apparently it seems like these are satanic cults, right? Or all of the above. They killed her birds. She had about 4 birds. They killed them. And then the predators were posting that on social media, saying that I killed the bird. So they did some rituals for her to walk out, basically. So That is what went on. I have not seen her. I contacted the police immediately in this town. I did not know that this town has a law that they protect pedos. They passed it, I don't know, sometime back in 2017, 2018. Not too many people know about it. This was given to me in writing. I still have the email from a oh my gosh, a guy that, what's it called? These people that oversees that they're not abusing you. I can't recall the name right now. Anyways, and so within 2 hours, the police told me that there would be no investigation because she was over 18 and she basically was choosing that for herself. That she had called 5 police stations, like all of those towns where all of this cartel or these people, all those families were in, like, anyways, I'm not going to name the towns, but all of those towns. So therefore, the investigation of a missing person or any investigation was going to be dropped. Well, I was not satisfied with that. I started to look for herself myself, and I went knocking on doors, showing her picture, telling people that if they see this girl to give me a call. And that's how it was for the first week and a half, 2 weeks. Wherever I went in these families, these cartels houses, knocking on doors and asking them, have you seen my daughter? They all told me, not only abused me with names and, you know, they call me BI, they just verbally abused me, kicked me out of the house and stuff. They all told me that I was not going to find any help. And it was one.
Sorry, this is the kind of tactics that people used to do to wear me down, right? And this happens over and over again. And whether or not the people are involved or not, people have a tendency not to want to deal with difficult situations and whatever else like that, and tell you just out of just normal people, because a lot of people are apathetic. They're like going to dismiss you or say, well, you know, you can't do anything and everything else like that. But no, you know what? Sometimes all it takes is one person, right? Like, you can roll a snowball down a mountainside. It starts as a little snowball, but by the time it gets down, you got an avalanche on your hands. And this is what people need to keep remembering. Be persistent. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I didn't know is that these people were part of the cartel. So they were telling me, in fact, what was going to happen. And one of them had run for Congress for one of the towns. And that person said, go ask your God for help now, to leave him alone. Now, at that moment, they were calling my girl a him.
What was that person's name?
Am I allowed to say it?
Go ahead. I don't care.
Daniel Frederick.
Okay.
And he run for whatever Congress somewhere in there. And I don't know if he won or not, but he told me that he had people in power, in place. No one was going to help me. Go ask your God. He insulted me. I had my other child with me, an adult now. And so it's not that I'm making this up. I do have receipts for this. And so anyways, they kicked me out.
I just want to say, I'm not the person that's afraid to say whatever. I mean, the people that were involved in taking my youngest daughter and so forth, and these people are involved in pedophilia, and I took them to court and I served on the documents. I called them child rapists on the thing and sent it to them. They would get angry. I don't care. I don't like people who do filth to children. I don't care. So say what you want. I don't care. They can do what they can try. Take me out. They've been doing it for so long. God's keeping me here until my work is done. So too bad for them. Go ahead.
So all of those 5 families involved, they had kids that were transitioning. And I believe, based on what I've gathered and investigated, is that this is a big cartel. This is a big mafia. They choose kids that of course, are maybe homeschooled or having problems making friends and that kind of stuff, they have these kids already in transition themselves to groom other kids.
Homes
And mhm.
homeschool children are targeted because they're not indoctrinated with the state agenda, which is to do some filth. We just need to take a short break. I've just got to play a little video here, but we'll be back on the other side and to continue this conversation. So just hold on for a moment. We'll be right back.
Hello friends, my name is Keisha and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. And I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Saskatchewan, moved into Alberta, and even crossed into the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems over the last 5 years that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father Dale Richardson, we started the Caris Project. This is an Indigenous, survivor-led movement for humanity dedicated to exposing trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. One of the most powerful tools that we are using is the petitions for redress of grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in Canadian and US law, and in treaties that tie us together across provinces, across states, and even across borders. These petitions are precedent-setting. They create a binding record. They demand accountability while representing reconciliation in action. Indigenous and non-Indigenous people working side by side to preserve liberty for all. But we cannot do this alone. We need your help to keep this movement alive, to raise awareness and to build a legacy of justice for Indigenous women, for trafficking survivors, and for families everywhere. Thank you. Please stand with us. Your support makes this work possible. Together we can restore justice, heal families, and defend freedom. And I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. And men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
And yeah, so if anybody wants to support the fight against human trafficking, you can go to our action plan page if you want to help push out the petitions, or you can support us with the donor box and the Give, Send, Go that you saw there. The links are also here. Or you can go to mypillow.com/Caris or call 1-800-845-2942. Buy some good stuff there, support a good cause. Or if you're watching on Facebook, Rumble, or Vocal, you'll see other links in the description for merchandise and so forth. And we've got the snazzy little cups here and all these kinds of sort of things so that you can support a good cause. And please like, subscribe, and share. All right, so let's come back to where we're at here with all of the stuff that's going on, where there's a systematic targeting of people. This is not random. They'll go after single mothers. This is one of the biggest lies that feminism has sold, that ended up dividing the families. And now you have, the red pill and feminism, whatever, going back and forth. And the biggest issues that you're having is that you're having broken families. And at the end of the day, a single mother is the most vulnerable segment of society. She's not going to have the same ability to do things even as a single father. Because a single father, yes, you want to have two parents, but you have the physical protection of the father where you don't have it with the mother. You want to have both parents ideally, but they know that the single mothers are the most vulnerable. And these criminals love it. Traffickers love it. And they need to stop this. This is where we need to start recognizing it. At the churches, this is why God says, He commands that they look after the fatherless, the widow, and the oppressed. And this is why in James, it says, true religion is to look after the fatherless, the widow, and the oppressed, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world because of this. In Leviticus, it talks about fathers not prostituting their daughters, otherwise it will sow violence in the land. It's not just saying that you're literally putting them out on the street, but if a man is neglecting his child, this is what happens. And the men, this is why they tell the men to help look after the women in these situations and the children, so that this exploitation doesn't happen. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I left off that I was looking for her, right, and on those households, and they told me that I will never receive help. Some of those households are involved with universities. They are heavy doing experiment. And so while she was taken within the first 48 hours, I found out that she was taken to near San Francisco and Santa Rosa. And I called the police out there. They found her, and still, because she was an adult, they told me that there was basically not much they can do. That they have, she has chosen that. She got tattooed in there. So when I approached the family, part of the cartel as well, what happened to my daughter? They told me, oh, she's back in the town where she originated from, but you can tell that they were, lying and stuff. So fast forward time, I was not able to get within this first 2 weeks any help. Call the human trafficking line. I called the 3-letter agencies, no help. So I went back to the original police department, and I insisted in speaking with, higher up, not the officer, but maybe lieutenant and that kind of stuff. I went up the ladder, and finally I got a phone call back from, I guess, a lieutenant. And then this was within the first 14 days. He told me clearly that there was nothing that I was going to be able to accomplish calling the police or trying to let them do what I want them to do, which was investigate, because A, I was an abusive mom, and B, I was religious, and C, I was conservative. For that reason, I was not going to get them do what I was asking them to do, which was investigate this definitely something wrong. She did not choose to pick up and go, blah, blah, blah. So they said, and I said, excuse me, so you're telling me because I follow God and because I voted for Trump, I'm not going to, I'm not going to get an investigation? And then he said, well, let her go. She just wants to escape the abusive environment that you have subjected her to. And at that moment, what can you say? Yes, I do follow God. Yes, I'm a religious woman, if you can call me religious. I'm a spiritual, yes. And yes, I'm conservative. But that has nothing to do with what you need to do is your job. Well, send me off.
But for them, it does. Because if you teach your child about God and you believe in God, then they're going to be like, well, what does the Bible say? Should I do this? No, the Bible says don't do this, so I'm not going to do this. This is why they target them. And then they also make more money. Because with my daughter, they were saying the girls that are Christian, they have a certain innocence, and they get more money by defiling them on camera to do this filthy nonsense. And this is very sick, twisted, and warped. This is a type of thing that happens, and people need to understand that this is not conspiracy. This happens. It happens regularly. And they go after the innocent girls that are Christians, and they will destroy them and violate.
So then I was sent off, and I was devastated because I didn't know that by carrying principles, values, and morals myself, passing that on to my family, my children, that I will be punished for that. Never in a million years in the United States of America. So at that moment, what can you say? What can you do, right? when the people that is supposed to protect you tells you go away, basically. So again, I have the receipts for that. I'm not making any of this up. So I kept insisting. Then I contacted his supervisor. They sent me off to tell you that it's been about 3 years of this nightmare, and I have not given up. I've continued to knock on doors. I continue to contact organizations to see who can help me, who can actually investigate and see and look what I have. So in those 3 years that have passed, unfortunately, my girl has been mutilated. She's been very ill, sick, almost dying a few times. The hospitals, by the way, Sutter Hospital is involved. I've had my attorney contact them when a lead came through that my child almost had died the night before, that I may needed to go and see her. They didn't let me. The traffickers were there, both of them on each, two traffickers, the young trafficker and then the groomer, and then the old trafficker, one on each side. So out of precaution, I just asked security if they can go and see if that person was alone in there. And they told me no, she has 2 other people. And then they called the police on me. They wanted to arrest me. And I told the attorney, go ahead and contact the hospital, the business office, or whatever she needed to do. And she did, in fact. She contacted the attorney general in that town, or in the county where we're at, making sure that they know that trafficking is happening at that hospital. And this is not the only time. She's been in and out like 5-6 times. And the injuries are from CAT scan from head to toe, heavy bleeding, vaginal bleeding, broken bones, etc. How do I know this? Because I have my ways of finding out. So not only that, but the traffickers have, I don't know what they're done, but now she's disabled. She is half deaf, half blind after being an intelligent girl, bright girl, smart. She has a dog, and the police is not able to do anything. The hospitals are not doing anything. That's where the corruption comes in, because the medical, for sure, is probably paying the traffickers money so she will move on in life as a disabled person.
Let me ask you a question. Were you an immigrant to America? Were you born in America, or did you immigrate to America?
I want to keep that private.
Okay. Well, no, it's the reason being is because the last woman that they had, people that are immigrants, they will isolate them because they don't have the same familial structure. Like if you were, for example, born in Canada and you were here for generations, it's not the same as if you were a first generation person, like your parents moved there, or if you just came there, because you're not going to have the same network. And that's a big factor. This is what people don't understand. Like the ladies the lady I interviewed the other day, she's Ukrainian, and her and her husband came as lawful immigrants, but because they were in Shasta County, not far from where you're at, and this is where they did this to her daughter, and they isolated her because they knew that they could get away with that. So this is a situation that people have to also take into context. And this is why when it comes to trafficking, if you read the trafficking laws, they don't care if somebody's an illegal immigrant or not, or whatever the situation is, because they know that these are ways to exploit them, right? And go to Texas and in California, even with the labor, they have a lot of people coming that they're exploiting for their labor, and they keep them in that situation. It's still a crime. And people have to understand this, that a lot of the situations they're using is they're calculating it for these situations. Go ahead.
All I can tell you, Dale, is that I was flagged early on.
Yes.
For example, if I were to apply for a job, I was flagged. I was flagged when I was voting, right? When I went to vote, they didn't let me vote. They had me standing there like for 2 hours because they could not find me, etc. Because they said I had to change the address, etc. When I file, I guess what's called some affidavits is a trust, right? I got trust. I created that last year, claiming my girls, claiming my status, claiming my sovereignty and all that kind of stuff. And there's a process that you have to go through.
Yes.
The county would not want to recognize the seal. And so there's a lot of stuff that I can go into, but it's not today's
Yes.
programming interview is not about that. But I do know for a fact that I was flagged. Just the fact that at my work I was reporting, as I was telling you earlier, I saw a lot of strange stuff happening. I wanted the Hilton properties in town, and I kind of knew that there was something weird going on, and I was stopping that and reporting to corporate, reporting to the authorities. Well, I do believe that everything that has taken place is because I was targeted early on. I was flagged
Well,
because of a big mouth, right? I don't know.
whistleblowers
Yeah.
are often targeted for retaliation because they don't
Yeah.
go with the status quo, right? Like, I mean, with myself and my daughter, I mean, we whistleblew against the government, exposed their crimes, and then the hammer came down. I look at this everywhere. I knew somebody that ran for politics in Minnesota, wanted to go on deal with, corruption and reforming the justice system. Well, that didn't go over too well, and we know that Minnesota was where all that fraud came out. And I see this happening over and over again. People don't like corruption, they don't like wickedness. Well, they punish you, right? And
Yeah.
this needs to stop.
Yeah. But I was also involved when, the 2020, 2019 happened, about closing the churches and closing the schools. I was at the Capitol with all of these groups of, I guess, patriots trying to raise awareness and stuff. So I don't know what did it,
Oh,
but the
you
truth
were
of the
you
matter
were
is,
you were in Washington at January 6th?
no, here at the
Oh,
Capitol, the local. Yeah.
okay, you
Yeah.
were there in
Yeah. Many,
it,
many times.
yeah, they
Yeah.
they don't like you for that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And then so time moved, moving forward time, and then here I am. So I didn't stop. I kept insisting, kept knocking, kept looking. By the grace of God, she is at the place where our neighbor found her and said, hey, I think this is your girl. So I kind of knew early on, oh, wow, she's there. So I told the authorities she's there, but no help whatsoever. I already told you that. Then out of the random blue, within the first 6 months, I call in the West Sacramento Police Department, 2 a.m. I was crying, and a nice officer came up and said to me not to cry, and I was sobbing. And then he said, Mrs. So and so, you're not going to get any help. And then I said, why are you saying that? This is why I'm calling you guys. And then he said, there is, of course, not immediately, but I kept insisting. And then he said, there is some writing in the system. And I said, what do you mean some writing in the system? There's some notes. And at the time, I didn't know what I know today. It's called flag, right? Flagging. I was flagged. And then he said, you're not going to get any help whatsoever. So go to sleep. Why are you? So I asked him, what are you telling me this? And then he said, I have a mom and I hear you. I'm sad for you. And I'm sorry this is happening, but you're not going to get any help. So today, I don't know what the writing is. So just as that, I've keep receiving nothing but rejection. She's over 18. She chose this, etc., etc. So up until when I found out that she almost died, then I filed a conservatorship. Took this in, myself to court, and I was trying to get not justice, but get something done myself. And I presented what I have on social media. This kid has been putting the many times she's been in the hospital, some more, worrying than others. You can tell, I think I shared with you, Dale, pictures and text where you can tell, my child is malnourished. It's abused. It's very thin, greasy hair, incoherent sometimes in the videos that I gather. So um,
I
I
I just kind of wanted to add something. I was working with a guy that's in Washington, and his son is being molested. His son was actually speaking up and talking about the molestation, being starved, being like malnourished, all these things, and they kept the child with the abuser, and they're punishing him, and they were going after him criminally and all these types of
yes, and that's what I believe they've done to my child. Not only that, when she went missing, they kept calling me and saying to stay away 3 or 4 times. The very police that I'm telling you said to me, if I come close to my child, I will get arrested, because they will have no choice but to file like have her file a restraining order against me. This was early on. So anyways, I went to court, tried to file a conservatorship. I presented what I had. It seemed like it was going well. Shortly after that, I decided to, my mistake, go inside of the FBI, the local FBI we have here. This will be like the 4th, 5th time. I asked them, with the new administration, with the new task force, if they could now, get me some help. That she was just at the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And they sent me off. They said there was no help. This was no child trafficking. This was no trafficking at all, blah, blah, blah. So, okay. 2 weeks after that, I get told that the traffickers basically forced my child to have a restraining order filed against me. So I never got served. I was just given those papers, found them on the entrance door. Go for the first hearing. Of course, I had to respond. I wasn't going to be neglectful and then just let those papers, So I responded. And I guess I had to go through what they call a hearing. I go in front of the judge, Julie Wen Gutierrez, the first hearing. So she's giving a restraining order against me for rape and gun pointing. Well, I haven't seen my child in 3 years. How can I have raped her and gun pointed? So I go and tell the judge at the first hearing, hey, this is child trafficking. On my response, I just say it straightforward for what it is. She was taken, she's under duress, she's being coerced to do this, etc. So dismiss the hearing. Well, they didn't do it. So at the day of the hearing, I tell her again in front of her, and I can see that my child is so thin, so not herself, very deteriorated. They destroy my girl. And the judge said that needs to be proven. I told her she's in danger, she's under duress and all that stuff. She said that needs to be proven, and I'm going to send you for a trial. And then I said, but she's in danger. On the passing, I told my child I love her, and the bailiff yelled at me that I was going to be arrested if I were to talk to her because I'm being restrained from her. Very sad story. I took a present, and then I wanted to give it to her, and I tell the judge, may allow me to give her a present. And it was going to be Christmas. This was just last year. And she yelled at me and said, you're being restrained. You're not supposed to come near her. And despite of me telling her my child was taken 3 years ago, you tell me if that is not corruption. I mean, at the very least, pause for a moment and think and ask questions. Excuse me, say that again? You're calling this what? Well, none of that. Well, that was that. Then they sent me through a trial, I guess, a month later. And they put me through what they call, like I said, a trial with no jurors and no jury, and a 7-hour trial, nothing but just a joke. They confiscated my phones. The judge on assignment was present, and that judge said to me that if I were to talk about God or the Constitution one more time, 3 times she said it to me, I was going to be arrested. She barely let me complete my sentences. They basically were saying that I hate my child because there's some transitioning going on, because I have been discriminative towards her, or towards the the LGBTQ agenda, whatever, the transgender agenda, or if I encounter people that do not agree with me believing in God, that I discriminate them. And I told this woman clearly, I said, no, what are you talking about? And so anyways, it just went on for 7 hours. Each time that I was at the court, each time I was on break, my girl will go out to where the trafficker was, and she'll either throw up there or she'll come back and throw up in front of us. When she was sitting in there in front of me, she had marks of fingers in here. 1 here, 3 here, heavy marks, not green, kind of purplish. And she was covering this with kind of like a necklace.
Yeah.
And not only that, but every time they ask her, oh, did you see, so-and-so pointing a gun at you? I don't remember. What color was it? I don't remember. I'm thankful to God that she did not accuse me, because I will never be able to forget that, right? But you can tell that they were lying. She was lying.
And yeah, because we're running here up on time, but we'll have to come back and do this again, because there needs to go more on this. And what you're seeing this is classic signs of abuse, of trafficking, and all of these things. And it's not that difficult for people to see. I've been exposed to human trafficking for a large part of my life, which I wish I never had, but I'm glad that I saw it, because now I know how to deal with it, because I can't stand it. But this is happening over and over again. And people who work in law enforcement, they understand this, because it's not hard to tell. Like when I went and talked with some law enforcement people here in Canada, they wanted to do their job, but they're like, we get too much pressure because of the political nature of this. But they understood, even the way that my daughter was dealing with stuff, and even with myself, that when people go through trauma, there's certain things, and especially with my daughter being trafficked, they understand this. And so they understand these signs, and even people in the courts, because they have to try these cases. So every one of these people are responsible. They need to be dealt with, and this is why I have no mercy. This is no mercy whatsoever. The maximum punishment available for these people is what they need to get. It's really it, because I've talked to you before this, and every time I hear this, I get angry, because I don't like it, because I understand what's going on, and something needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, they gave me a restraining order. I'm not allowed to come near her, even though she's being abused and exploited. Not only that, but then the local police have started to harass me and call me 5, 6, 7 times, saying that I violated the restraining order, that they were going to arrest me. So that they had a video that I'm following my daughter, stuff like that. Why would you make this up? Remember at the beginning, my daughter said that they will arrest you, right? They're going to come and arrest you. Well, where does the word come arrest you comes from? Well, the same police, I have the recording, that he said, if I come near my daughter, they will arrest me. Well, that's the same guy that called me on the phone seven times one day, 6 times another time, saying that they were going to arrest me. He denied all that to my attorney, and they came over to my house. They brought my girl 2 officers because they were in fact going to arrest me. So you're talking about exploitation and blackmailing. This is it, but no one is helping me. Why did they brought my daughter to my place when she had already a restraining order? Why are they telling me they're going to arrest me? And so on and so forth. So right now I'm on the run because they're trying to arrest me. I don't have a warrant for my arrest. I haven't done anything, but they're trying to arrest me just to silence me. So then I will shut up and go away. But they got my girl, and then they're exploiting her. And God, God help her, because I hope that she's able to survive. She's able to come out alive. I'm leaving a lot of details out because, the severity of this case. But yeah, that is what's been going on, Dale.
Yes, and this is horrific. This needs to get dealt with. We'll talk after this when we're offline here. How can people reach you, and how can they help? Because people need to help.
What I suggest that people can join forces with situations like mine, mothers or single parents or that kind of stuff, or families. And I guess more needs to be done. I guess we need to go to Congress, or we need to do something. I don't even know. Even to the president. But I don't have any social media, Dale. So I appreciate if somebody would like to help out. Not financially. That's not the help I'm asking. I'm asking support so we can get something done and we can finally rescue our kids. I don't know if they can help me rescue my girl. They can contact you directly.
All right. So reach out to me and I can get you in contact. Share this, get this out. Please give her some help. This needs to be dealt with. This is disgusting. I can't stand this. And I don't know any human being should look at this situation and be okay with it. I understand you don't know what to do, but help the people who do. Because if they can steal people's children, they'll do it to anybody. And it's only a matter of time before it comes to you. And if it doesn't come to you, maybe your kids are grown, it's going to happen to your kids' kids. It's going to affect you in some way, shape, or form. This has to stop. Anyway, I will close with a prayer. And yes, we need some prayer in this time. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for this, your love, grace, and mercy. And Lord, you see this terrible situation here. And Father, I ask of you this day to give this mother some relief and give her child some relief and relieve her from this wicked, evil, satanic slavery that is being pushed upon them. And Lord, I ask of you to open a door of mercy and Lord, bring these people to justice, that they would stop this stuff and stop harming all the people that they have harmed, and bring peace to the families who have suffered. And Lord, you see all the parents that are having their children being destroyed across this land, across the world. Lord, I ask of you this day to protect them and to stand up for them and get the men and the women to come together to rebuild our families, our churches, our community, and our nation, that we can have some protection for the children, and to bring these people to justice is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and for everyone, we'll see you again next time.